What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Sylvester Murray, and we're talking about generational wealth, mental health, finance, and business.
It's a black man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
Today, we talking to the brother Siam Ibrahim. This brother's out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Grew up in New York City. Check this out. This brother has deep roots in Dominican Republic and Ethiopian communities. This brother has over 1,400 real estate transactions, more than, check this, a quarter billion with a B in closes, man. We got to talk to this brother today because, I'm in Florida, I'm in Orlando. The real estate market is crazy. But before we get into all that, first off, Siam Ibrahim, my brother, welcome to Black Men Sundays, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and drop some game for your audience, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I see you deep roots in Dominican and Ethiopian communities. Let's talk about that, man. That's unique.
Yeah, man. There ain't too many of us with that mix out there, right? So I grew up in the Lower East Side of New York, and my mother's from DR, and my dad's from Ethiopia, and they met in Manhattan, right? One of the only places where the Dominican and Ethiopian are gonna get together, right, and get married, just because the melting pot of the world. And they came here with not a lot of money. They came here with hard work ethic and wanted a better life, and so they pushed us, and that's exactly what they got.
Got you, man. And let's just jump right in, man. I'm like I said, I'm in Florida. A lot of people come on the show. We've had brothers come on and they got their real estate 2007, 2008 when the market crashed. But a lot of brothers saying, okay, that's great. But it's 2025 now, man. I want to get in the game, or I'm already in the game and I have a couple investment properties. But, the rates and the premiums are so high, it's hard for me to maintain that. So for brothers that are really trying to get in the real estate game in 2025, give us some tips, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Look, I understand rates are high. Everyone's saying the economy, nobody's going to know what's going on with the economy, right? There's all these different things, but people need to live somewhere, right? And that's why I'm a big believer that it's always the right time to buy real estate. The best time is yesterday, but we can't rewind time. So you might as well start buying today, right? And one of the things I tell people is that where you live doesn't necessarily mean have to be where you invest. Right. So I live in South Florida, in the Fort Lauderdale area, and in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, very, very expensive markets, right? The rate of returns people get on the rental properties sometimes are 4 or 5%. That doesn't excite me very much. So I do a lot of investing in Ohio, in the Midwest, because I can still make 10, 12, 15% on a rental property, right? And regardless of what interest rates are, the property will cash flow. So I'll still buy real estate as long as the real estate will cover itself, regardless of what the interest rate environment is.
Okay, great information, man. And let's talk about some techniques to get started in real estate. Like fortunately, I own a property, but if I didn't own a property and I'm trying to get in the game in 2025, give us some tips to get us going.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we bought over 1,400 properties, and over 95% of the properties we bought were off market direct to owner. Right. So we like to buy properties where there's no middle person, there isn't a realtor involved pushing the price up. And one of the best strategies is targeting retiring landlords. Right. So people that own properties for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? And maybe they're tired, maybe they just want to move on, maybe they're done with the management, or they had a bad recent eviction, and we're able to lock in a great deal. Because someone who bought a house for $30,000 30 years ago, and I can offer them 80, 100K today, but it's worth 200 after I put some love into it, they're already winning at my 100K offer. And for those on your audience that don't have a lot of money to put down, that doesn't mean anything. There's so many ways out there to get your deal funded. One of my favorite ways, right, is something called the seller holdback. Right. So if a landlord owned a property for 30 years, he probably has the house pretty close to paid off by now, right? They've been collecting rent, they got their money back. So we'll go and get a bank to give 80% of that purchase price, whether not a regular bank, but what's called a DSCR bank, an investor bank. And they'll give 80% of the purchase price. And then I'll go back to that landlord and ask him, hey, can you finance my down payment for the next 5 years? I'll get you most of your money today, right? We can defer some of your taxes, right? But let me get in and you finance my down payment and I'll pay you from the rent, since you understand this property very well. That comes in every month. And I'm able to walk into a property with little to no money out of pocket. And we did this hundreds of times, and our mentees have done it hundreds of times, which is how we built our portfolio to over 600 doors today.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean, over a quarter billion in deals closed. So you telling me you was closing deals like this?
Yeah, man, left and right. You'd be surprised how many sellers just want to get rid of their property when they've owned it for 30 years.
Okay, well, let me switch it up. What about, because I feel like in the market I'm in, like I said, I'm in the Orlando area, and it seemed like 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was selling a property, but it was kind of like if the property was for sale and it was over X amount of square feet, it was competitive. I remember I was looking at the house I'm in right now, and my realtor called me, said, "Hey, if you want to get this house, you got to put the offer in today." It was Friday. I was like, "No, wait till Monday." He called the realtor that was over this property. That was like, it may not be available Monday. Now, this was 5 to 7 years ago, but now I'm seeing it's a little different where the homes are for sale. Like I have a brother that has his house for sale right now, and he's equities like at least 200 to 250%, but he's struggling to get someone to buy the property now versus how it was 5 to 7 years ago. So, what confidence and what advice can you give brothers that are trying to sell the current property, or they have investment properties that they're trying to sell? Because a lot of brothers are telling me that it's so hard to sell the property that they're just renting it out. So, let's go.
Yeah, right. So for that, your question, I like to go back to the beginning, right? When you're going to get into a property. I tell everybody that I work with that only buy a property if it works for long-term hold and if it works for a sale, right? So if it doesn't work for both, then it's not a deal for me, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen with the market. You might have to pivot and own it for 5, 6, 7 years for the market to catch up to where you want it, or where it's stabilized where you can sell it at the price you want, right? And if that doesn't work, you need to be able to cash flow $400,000 or $500,000 a month on that property, as you hold it long term. So I only do deals that have multiple exit strategies. They work as a rental and they work as a flip, right? So every flip that I look at, I'm also knowing, hey, if I need to hold this for 5 years, I'm good with it. I'm going to make money every single month, which I like. If I'm going to buy a rental, I'm like, look, if I need to sell it because something goes wrong with the rental in this business, or the economy changes, or they get rid of Section 8, right? Who knows what happens, right? Then what I'm saying? Then it needs to work. I need to be able to make money when I sell it. So it needs to work for both ways. Now, for people that are trying to sell property now, there's so many things you can do. It's all about making it a situation where the buyer can't do anything but say yes. So you can offer home warranties for the property, saying that, hey, I'm gonna pay for warranty for your property. So anything that happens for the next 12 months, you don't got to worry about it. The warranty company's gonna cover it. That's one. Another thing you can do is you can offer, what we do a lot is we'll offer cash to the buyer. We'll say, look, we're going to give you a check at closing for $5,000 for you to do whatever upgrades you want to do to the house. You want to go change the appliances? Go ahead. You want to go and paint the home? Go ahead. Whatever you want to do, right? You got 5,000 in your hand in cash that you can go do it for it. And you think if you're the only one out of 10 listings in the neighborhood that's offering money back, because you put a lot of money when you buy these homes out, you don't think that you're gonna steer a couple buyers your way? The answer is yes, right? So you just want to give incentives, make it where it's a no-brainer, where they can't say they can't turn down the opportunity.
Gotcha. And what about the investors that already have a few properties where they're like, okay, I'm trying to sell it, but it's hard to sell now. Should they keep renting it, or like what's some good tips to help them get their property off the market?
It needs to work both ways as a rental or a flip. But if it's not working now as a sale, right, just hold it. Real estate values tend to go up over time, right? If they hold it for 5 more years, chances are it's going to be worth 20, 30, if not more in 5 years. But it's the same thing. If they want to sell the property in today's market, you need to offer an incentive for the buyer. One incentive could be, I'm going to guarantee your income for the first 12 months. So if I got a renter in this property, I'm going to guarantee your income for the first 12 months. If the tenant stops paying, I'll pay for the first 12 months. All right. I've done that before. What investor's not going to be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's rock. Right. Or another thing could be you can offer them and say, same thing. I can offer to help with the down payment. I did this recently in Cleveland, Ohio, where the buyer came in, and because of, whatever their financial situation was, they were required to put a little more money down on the property. And they were like, I don't really necessarily have this money. I said, you know what? Let's go in. You got the bank loan. How much can you put down? And it was that he was short 8% on the total down payment. I said, I'll give you 12 months to give me the 8% on that down payment. I'll put a seller holdback and do a second lien on the property and give you 12 months to pay that 8% at whatever interest rate. You agreed on 10% on that interest rate, which is better than you're gonna get in the bank, right? And if you don't, we put some paperwork in place where there's penalties.
Oh yeah, man. You can talk that talk, man. Yeah, because I'm sitting here like, okay, okay. And I
Yeah.
also, as I'm doing research on you, and thanks for that information, by the way. That's phenomenal, man. I mean, we coming out the gate. I dropped you in that fish grease early, and you just handling your business. And I also see you also do Wealth Wednesdays with Angela Yee, man. How'd you get started with that?
Yeah, look, I was on the podcast in November last year and talking about real estate strategies and how you can get into properties and different financing options. And it was such a hit that when I got off the radio, there were thousands of people that texted in and called into the radio asking me to come back on because they loved the session. So, we decided let's make this more formal. And I was already educating people on how to get in the game, and they're all about wealth and financial freedom. We said let's merge it and make something official. So they invited me a co-host on the radio show. So I come on the second Tuesday of every month and just talk about real estate strategies and how you can become financially free.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We got you on Black Men Sundays today. Tell Angela she need to pull up on Black Men Sundays. We have sisters on the show too, man. And I want to do a slight transition right quick, man, because it's, I feel like, like I'm 46, man. I ain't scared to put my business out there. I'm 46, but it's a lot of brothers out here that are in my age bracket, but they're like, man, when I was 20s and 30s, the job was great. We were traveling the world. We were all over the place. We were hustling and bustling. We were just moving. But now I'm not feeling that like I did then. I kind of want a fresh career start. I kind of want to do something different, but I'm afraid, man. I'm vested in the company. You know what I'm saying? I got my 401k. I got a pension. Most companies don't even have those anymore. But it's like, it's hard to take the step, to take that leap of faith, even though it's like, damn it, that's a good move. But it's like, yo, I'm kind of set up though. I'm kind of comfy like this. But sometimes brothers get in that mentality where it's like, man, I'm really ain't feeling this no more. Maybe, politics at the job may be different now. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that a little bit. And how can we regain confidence in taking that leap of faith, man? Because I feel like, man, I spoke to a brother like last week, and he was like, you know what? June 1st, man, I'm out. I'm like, what you mean you out, bro? He was like, man, I'm about to do my thing. So let's go, man.
Yeah, bro. That's the question I get asked all the time. And what I tell people who are on the fence is, real estate doesn't have to be your full time at first, right? So why not go out there and start buying rental property? If you want to flip, you can do flip. You want to buy rental property is my favorite strategy. Why not go out there, start buying rental property and start cash flowing those rentals, right? And then once you figure out what your number is, if that number is 5,000, $10,000 a month that you need to make in order to be able to be financially free, so you could fire your boss or quit your job or whatever it is you want to do, right? That you figure out how many rental properties you need to own so you can get to that point. So let's just say you make $500 a month per rental property. Easy number to do math with, right? If that number is you need to have $5,000, that means you need to have 10 rental properties, all right, to be able to be financially free and never have to work a day in your life again, right? At least a day in your life that you don't want to work for, right? So that's how you become financially free through real estate. Buy rental property so that you replace your current job income. And once you've replaced your current job income, you can do whatever you want. You could travel, you could double down and go harder and double or triple that income, right? But it starts with getting familiar with the systems, right? Start acquiring some property and then using that income from that to go and do with the stuff you want to do.
Got you. Sorry about that, the muting, but now we good, man.
Good.
Okay, yeah, man. But let's talk about because we had brothers on the show talking about setting up overseas accounts. And you have a Dominican Republic background. So do you go over there? Do you have any properties? Do you have any accounts over there? And just,
Yeah.
because like what are the benefits of setting up shop in DR? Because I hear brothers all the time. Like we had a guy came on the show and he's not Dominican Republic, but it's Dominica, the country, and he's set up over there. So just, let's talk about DR for a little bit, what you have going on over there, and just how you got set up over there, and what benefits can the Dominican Republic present to us.
Yeah, man. Look, I think the whole Caribbean is just an amazing place to invest in. But I told you I'm half Dominican and half Ethiopian, so I always wanted to go back and invest my roots, right? So about almost 3 years ago now, we bought a hotel in the north coast of the Dominican Republic in an area called Cabarete or Puerto Plata. It's 71 rooms, restaurant, 3 retail spots. It was run down. Same strategy I told you about that we used to buy houses in the States, right? We found a retiring landlord, someone that owned this product for 25 plus years. All right. And let it get run down. It was dilapidated. He didn't have the energy to keep up with it. So we ended up buying it for 2 million bucks. We did some seller financing, used some creative strategies, raised some money, and we bought it. We renovated, spent over $1 million renovating it. and it recently appraised for $6 million. So it doubled in value in the span of 2 years of us renovating the property, because we went in and bought it right. Now, what's the benefit of doing it? Number one, I'm a big believer that I invest in places I want to go. Right. So if I want to go in DR, let's make money in DR, and then let's have a place I can go and have an amazing time and invite all my friends and family to do the same thing with me. Ethiopia is coming soon. We're definitely going to invest in Africa in the next 12 months as well and do something out there as well. So that's one. Number two, there's a lot of tax incentives that companies in the Caribbean and just foreign countries, period, offer to investors that want to invest in their nations. So like DR specifically, if you invest over $200,000 into a project, a development, a renovation project, a new house, whatever it is, into Dominican Republic, you can get residency, you can get tax incentives, where you don't have to pay any tax for 15 years. It's something called Comfort Tour, where there's no property tax, no sales tax, no import tax, no income tax for 15 years. All right. And that's just one of the many, many options. And then there's just a lot of opportunity, man. There's these older properties that have deferred maintenance, they're run down and give you great opportunities to come in, put some work in, and make a buck and two out of it as well.
Man, let me tell you something, man. Doing Black Men Sunday sometimes is hard for me, man, because I hear y'all just so financially free. I could just see it in your smile, man. Your smile don't look like mine. My smile means I gotta get up in the morning. Your smile is I get up when I feel like it. That's different, man. So when we talking about, Ethiopians, when we talking about Dominicans, when we talking about Americans, when we talking about just people in general, man, like what can we do to inspire, more financial? And we doing Black Men Sundays. We talking about generational wealth, but I mean, you sound like you super financially independent. So in the African American and the Latino communities, like what can we do to really be financially free, man?
Yeah, look, I think, everyone says I want to have rental property, I want to own real estate. I think the biggest thing is you want to own real estate. It could be start with one property. You don't need to have 1,000, right? You don't have 500, right? Just start with one. If you can buy 5 properties over the next couple of years, you'll be a millionaire, right? You'll be a millionaire, right? So think about it. If you're 30 years old, you're 35, you're 40 years old. If you just buy 5 properties, all right, and let's just say the average property is a $200,000 house, right? Over the next couple of years, real estate tends to double in value every 10 years on average. If you go the past 100 years of the United States, all right, and real estate tends to double in value every 10 years. And sometimes in some areas, it even triples or quadruples over 10 years. All right. So just go in, start buying. All right. Start buying real estate. If you're busy because you got a full-time job, let's put the flipping aside. Let's just buy cash flowing assets. They're going to appreciate over time. And guess what? You're going to save more on your taxes just by buying those real estate, because the more properties you own, the less percentage you pay in taxes because of the depreciation that you get off of that. So it's another reason to buy real estate, right? Another way to make more money is you keep more of it in your pocket instead of paying it out to Uncle Sam, right? And real estate helps you with that. So I think just have a target, buy 5 properties in the next couple of years, and you'll see that just by doing those and holding those, you'll eventually become a millionaire by the time you're ready to retire.
Gotcha. And what about like for you? Do you do any other investing outside of real estate?
For me, I'm mostly all in on real estate, right? So I'll give you guys my background. I grew up in the north, like I come from 2 immigrant parents, right? They didn't have a lot of money, but they had hard work ethic, and so we grew up in the city. My dad was a yellow cab driver for 21 years, and my mother was a hairstylist and babysitter. But they wanted better for us, so they saved a little bit of money. They moved us out the city, and then we ended up moving to Jersey, right? Central Jersey by New Brunswick, and I remember when I was in high school and other kids wanted to go out and play ball, my dad would be like, read a chapter first, and then you can go out and play ball. And I would cry. I would be pissed. I'd say, Dad, I hate you. Why are you doing this to me? But I understand, right, his reasoning now. So I ended up graduating from high school, and I got a full scholarship to Georgetown University, right? Funny, you were talking about Iverson earlier, right? He went to Georgetown too, so I'm a fan, right? Got a full scholarship. I became a Jackie Robinson scholar and ended up working on Wall Street, right? Because I thought that's what it took to become financially free. So you asked me, do I invest in other things? I used to invest in stocks. I don't really touch anymore because I believe real estate's the best asset out there. Right? People talk about crypto, they talk about stocks, but those are way too volatile, right? One day you're on top, next day you're on bottom. Real estate's a real asset. So I put my money in real estate. Now I invest in different places, right, to diversify, and I invest in different strategies to diversify, but I'm all in on real estate. Now, the reason I give you my background is because I came from Wall Street when I graduated college, right? Because I thought that's how I was going to become rich and become financially free. And I just realized I hated that lifestyle. I was a slave to corporate America. You know, and I wanted to get married, and I was working 80 plus hours a week. And I gave my boss heads up notice. And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. When it came to it, he said, can you reschedule your wedding? We're way too busy. And I was like, what? All right. So I quit Wall Street cold turkey. My entire family hated me, right? They practically disowned me. So I threw away my entire family's. This is what they said. I threw away my entire family's chance of becoming millionaires. They were looking for me to bring the millions to the family, right? Because I left Wall Street. I ended up landing on real estate and started flipping houses and buying rentals. So I'm all in on real estate. I understand the stock market. You know, I understand a little bit of the crypto market, but those are too volatile for me. I like real assets, and real estate's as real as they come.
Got you, man. And speaking of family, man, I understand your family actually helped you build your real estate empire.
Absolutely. I'm partners with both my younger brothers. The youngest brother, Emil, he's actually in the DR right now, managing the hotel. My other brother, Xavier, he's the one that's in charge of all our acquisitions and new purchases. Even my wife, right, is part of the business. And she's in charge of the money, right? She pushed me to the side, and she's in charge of the money. She's like she decides where it goes in the business. So, you know, yeah, man, this is a true family business, and we've expanded from there.
Got you. When you say business, is it like a LLC? Like what type of business is it established under?
Yeah, so that's actually a trick question. So for the properties you own long term, it's an LLC. It's an LLC, right? But for anybody that's invested in real estate, you should have an LLC and an LLC tax like an S corp. But we could talk about that on another day. I
Okay,
ain't too granular here.
got you, got you. No, that sounds good, man. Well, all right, fellas, the stage is open, man. We got Saeem Ibrahim on the show. Let's go.
Yo, brother, what's up, man? This is Kalali Dobe. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Kalali. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Oh, do I still gotta do let me do my intro. Kalali Dobe out of Prince Frederick, Maryland. Calvert County, Maryland. Corey always likes us to say where we from. So,
Cool.
yo, man, I'm really, really digging everything you're saying, man. So one thing I picked up on was you said if you really want to, like, if you really, I guess, if you want to set the goal to be financially free, or you want to, try to make, say $1 million, you should set a goal of buying, what is it, 4 or 5 properties within a couple of years or something like that,
Correct.
2 or 3 years. Is that a realistic goal though? Is that something that can really be done?
Yeah, man. There's so many strategies to get into properties. You don't even need a lot of money to get into properties a lot of times, right?
Mm,
You know, there's lenders out there, right? So if you Google on your phone when you get off this thing, if you Google on your phone, hard money lenders. I don't know if you ever heard that term before, right? These are people that want to give money to real estate investors. So once you start learning these strategies, there's more money out there than you will ever need to do any real estate deal, right? So hard money in whatever city, right? Whether it's, Silver Spring, Maryland, or it's Baltimore, Maryland, or wherever it is that, I know you said Maryland, but I forgot which town in Maryland you said, but
yeah, Prince Frederick. It's in Southern Maryland.
Southern Maryland. All right. Well,
Yeah.
you're gonna find that there's more money out than you ever need. So between hard money lenders, private money lenders, and making the seller your lender, you can get into deals with little to no money out of pocket and just own them, right?
Mm.
They tend to appreciate over time. Now, in between, you got these little dips, the market changes, but just hold through that, and you'll see that you'll come out on top, and your future self is going, thank you.
Yeah, no, man, I really believe in what you're saying. I've been looking at, investments. Obviously I got investments in stock market, different things like that. But I've really been looking at like the strategy of investment. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I really agree with everything that you've been saying in terms of if you really want to invest and you really want to have a stable investment, your best bet is the real estate market. Ain't it's funny, I've been arguing with my barber recently over investments. And I told him, I said, man, just invest in real estate. I said, just invest in real estate. You'll be all right. He wants to invest in all this other stuff. We don't got to
Mhm.
go into that, but he wants to invest in all this other stuff. And I'm just like, just invest in real estate. You'll be all right. I said, look, they're not making no more of that.
I
Okay.
agree. I
You
agree.
know what I'm saying?
There's
So,
only three
go
things,
ahead.
my friend. There's only three things that really make. If you look at every millionaire in the world, there's only three things that make people millionaires. One,
Mhm.
they start a business that does extremely well and they make a lot of money, right? Two, they invest in businesses and they end up doing really well, right? Or
Yeah.
three, they invest in real estate. Everything else is just luck. You have no control in the other stuff, right? Um, these are the only real ways you can count on making money and becoming financially free.
So in terms of what you just said, so if you were to build out a strategy, right, is what you just said like the first step in that strategy, like look at hard money lenders or look at, the other, make your seller your lender, different things like that as a means to enter the business. Because that's the thing is like I always talk about it and I never make the leap. You know what I'm saying? I never actually but I'm like I need to do it. I feel like look, man, I feel like I need to do this like even for what us doing Black Men Sunday and stuff like that, like Corey will tell you, me and Corey, we go way back. We've been cool. It's one of my best friends for years. You know what I'm saying, for decades now. We decades into this thing. And the thing is like, so I've been on Black Men Sunday from the beginning, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, I listen to all of these people and they always come back and they say that, and it's like the same thing. It's just exactly what you said. It's like either they invested in a business and got successful, you know what I'm saying? Or they invested in real estate and got successful. And so I'm like, this has got to be the way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's
It-
like, and I always talk about it, but then it's like, I don't know why I don't just make that leap, man. And so it's like for somebody like me, like what should be like what should be the first step to like kind of push me over the edge in that direction? Even though like I'm fully engaged, I got a full-time job, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm busy. I'm not like, I'm not just chilling, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Sure.
busy. Like what should be like the first couple of things I should do to like make time to get this into the flow of what I'm doing?
So I'm gonna do something one better for you. I have a 100% free community that I offer to people, right? And it's
Okay.
there's no sales, it's just offering support, right? And helping answering questions. And it's not even just me, you get the whole community to do it, right?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna share the link to the community with
Yeah,
with Corey so you can get it out
yeah,
to your community. Get in there. It's mostly us, right? Mostly people that look like us in that community, right?
yeah.
And it's people that are interested in real estate investing. So I'll give you one. There's a guy, Maurice from Texas, in the group, and he made an offer last week, and he freaked out because they asked him for his inspection period and an EMD, and he's like, "What is this? I don't even know what to do about this." He added in the community within 15 minutes. Someone gave him a response and gave him the steps to follow. Right. So, and it's again, it wasn't me. It's other people in the community that already got in the game and closed one, two, or three deals. So they got a little more experience. They're just one step further than him, right?
Mhm.
So get in there and just get the strategies, man. Right. For anyone that wants to invest in real estate, my first thing I tell you to do is to learn the financing strategies and learn the analyzing strategies. Learn how to analyze a deal, and it all starts with getting a calculator, right? So I will actually share a calculator that we put together. We've used to analyze thousands of deals with everyone
Mhm.
in the community here, but you also get that calculator when you join the community. It's called the Wealth Wednesdays Real Estate Community, and it's actually where we partner with Angela Yee and Stacy Tisdale to bring financial freedom and real estate education to our community.
That's cool, man. I really appreciate that because, like I said, I've been looking at it. If I feel like if I don't do this at some point, like I definitely have missed the point because, like,
It's
because,
never
like,
too late, bro. It's never
yeah,
too late, right? It's never too late. But why wait, right? Like I told you, real estate prices double on average every 10 years. So why wait? You're just missing out on some of the appreciation, right? And in every neighborhood in the country, there's deals. You just have to know how to find them and how to analyze them. If you got those two, you got 90% of the battle done.
so talking to like different people who, especially people who like hold properties for rent, they talk about like difficulties with renters. Like, do you have any strategies on how to pick like good quality renters?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I've had my difficulties too. There's not anybody who owns rental properties. We have 600 doors right now. So
Yeah,
imagine we have some issues, right, in that process.
yeah,
But a lot of things you do. Number one, obviously do a regular background check, right? And they don't even have to be perfect, right? I'm not looking for perfect tenants. I know everyone has issues, right?
mhm,
If there is issues, I might ask them to put additional deposit, right? Because if I have to go through an eviction, if we have a disagreement, I have some more money to cover any damages or to deal with the additional time it takes to get them out, right? So if they have to put first month in security and they have a lot of blemishes in their credit or they have a lot of issues with their background, I'll say, hey, give me first month and 2 months security. Now I got the cushion to deal with them if there's an issue. If there's
mhm,
not, they get it back anyway. That's one. The second thing we do is we call previous landlords, and a lot of people don't do this. So if you're applying for a place to live with us, right, and you're saying, yeah, I'm moving out my place for XYZ, we'll ask them for the previous landlord as a reference. And the third thing we do is we do monthly inspections on our rentals. So, I make sure not too much time passes if they're going to do damage where they just destroy the place, right? If I go in there and we see that they're a hoarder or they're, tearing up the walls and destroying the carpet, then we're going to use that as a reason to get them out. So we do monthly inspections. So don't let a year pass before you see your property, right? Because that a year's pass is too late at that point in time.
Got you, got you. Well, that I said that was my last question, but that just sparked another question. Like, so I just got to follow up on that. Like, if you've got properties in all these different places, how are you able to, keep track of them, within a year's time? Are you just making schedules to do that? I know you got your family involved. How you doing that piece?
Yeah, look, so we do look, I do deals in Ohio. I got deals going in Atlanta. I got deals
Yeah.
we've done deals in Jersey and Texas and in Maryland. We selling some of our rentals right now in Cumberland, Maryland, right? And in Baltimore. So we anywhere once you learn these strategies, the entire world is your background, is your playground, right? You can do this anywhere. The way we do this is number one, we use the system. We use like a management system to manage the rentals to make sure it tells you who's paying, who's not. They pay through a portal as opposed to just going depositing checks or mailing us money. I hate when they mail us money because that just adds more work to it. You make them pay through a portal. There's Appfolio, there's Yardi Breeze. There's a lot of companies out there that does this, helps you manage it. Where sends them reminders automatically. It keeps the lease in one spot. They can sign the lease right on it. It does the background check on those software, and then they can actually pay through the portal. And when they pay, they kind of removes them from people to follow up with. So it helps. That helps it a lot. The second thing is anywhere I do business, I build a team in that market, right? So if I'm gonna go do business in Maine, which I've never been to, right? I'm gonna build a team there, and that team doesn't have to be people you pay on a salary. A lot of it is based off of performance, right? So the first person I'm gonna hire is I'm gonna hire a realtor in that market. And now I'm not going to hire the realtor that's the busiest in town or somebody that's brand new, but someone that's been in the game for a little bit. They have some experience, but they can use some help to grow their business. And I'm gonna tell them, hey, look, I'm looking to buy 5 properties in the next 12 months. Are you looking to sell 5 properties in the next 12 months? The answer is yes, right? Okay, great.
Obviously.
Now, if I buy these properties, I'm also going to sell these properties, which I'm going to need you to help me in the management in between. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you an extra percent when I sell the property, right? So I'm not paying them a salary. An extra percent is cool because I'm paying them when I get paid when I sell it, right? And they're the ones that are checking to make sure the contractor's doing the renovations. They're the ones that are checking to make sure that the property is rent ready. And they're even the ones showing it when I want to rent it. They're showing it to tenants. And I pay them a commission when they rent it. I say, look, you put a tenant in there, I'll give you half a month's commission. So if that's $1,500, they're getting paid 750. Realtors like this, especially if they're hustling, right? So you turn your team into people that can do work for you and only have to pay them once they've performed.
That's crazy. Yeah, that right there is a gem. I don't even that right there is a gem for real, for real. That's crazy.
Hey, Caleb, man, I'm just saying, man. I know, right? Every time we had it, bro, I
I
it's almost it's,
know.
it's almost like I need to go see a mental health specialist because these guests be so good, and I'm just like, yo, I really could do this. And that leads to my question for you, Cyan, man. It's like for me, like, yeah, just like Caleb, like I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to get in the game. I mean, I'm in the game. I already own the property, but I want to get a couple more. But I'm like, ooh, the price is high, the rates is high. I got my house at like 3%. I'm like, I can't even find that nowhere. I can't even like in Orlando. I can't find nothing under 400,000. You know what I'm saying? So that leads to my question for you is the word fear. I get a little freaked out. Like, okay, what if I get a tenant in there and you know what I'm saying? They put some concrete down the toilet and stuff. Now I gotta eat that. Or what if I have these 5 properties, but I don't have any tenants in? I'm eating 5 mortgages. So that's where the fear factor kicks in. So what tips can you give us to alleviate or at least help calm the fear down some? Because that's a
Yeah,
lot of money, man. You paying 5 mortgages. It's like, whoa.
sure, man.
He paying 600.
Exactly. Exactly. Look, there's good debt and there's bad debt, right? So you had a couple things in there. I'm gonna address each one individually, right? So there's good debt and bad debt. If you go run up a credit card to go shopping at Macy's, that's bad debt, right? There's no return on investment. But if you're borrowing money, getting a mortgage, regardless of what the interest rate is, but the rent in that property will cover that mortgage and give you a surplus and give you a profit, then I'll do that debt all day, every day, twice on Sunday. right? And so I make sure when I go out and get these loans, they're also not in my personal name. I'm getting business loans, right? So there's lenders out there for investors, and the kind of loan you want to get is not at Chase Bank or Bank of America. You want to go to what's called DSCR lenders. That stands for debt service coverage ratio lenders. They lend based off the income of the property, not based off of you, right? So if the property is spitting out $2,000 a month, they're going to lend where the payment's not going to be more than $1,600, including taxes and insurance. So you just got to make sure you back out the numbers. If I'm buying a property, it's going to cost me $1,000 a month. I want to make sure that the cash flow or the around that property is at least 1,200, if not better, right? So that I know I got a 20% profit on that property or better. And if you follow that model, you're golden, man. You're golden.
So one of the things that I've been looking to do is actually become a realtor myself. Would you suggest that as like just an added knowledge base to have or a knowledge skill to have, or is that something that's really kind of like extra?
Yeah, I think it's extra. I don't think you need it in the beginning. There's a lot of things you can do without being a realtor. And frankly, being a realtor is actually more work and responsibility on your part as a new investor. So I would do that down the line. Just worry about getting the strategies, getting the game, make the offers, and then the realtor stuff is like adding on top to get better later on.
Cool, cool. Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Got you, man. Okay, cool, man. Well, Saim Ibrahim, brother, you enjoying yourself on Black Men Sundays?
Yeah, man, having a good time, man. Dropping some gems and we talking about my favorite thing, real estate. So I can talk about this all day.
Definitely good, man. I have like one more question, then I'm gonna let you ride, man. So, we've had guests on the show that had different real estate strategies where, they would buy the house, live in it for the first year, then turn it into a rental property, and they paid, a smaller percentage versus just saying, hey, this is an investment property. And then I've had a guest on the show saying that if your house is an investment property, when the insurance goes up, it's not really at a controlled rate. So let's talk about that a little bit because I feel like that kind of gets people a little jarred into, okay, should I buy the house, live in it? I mean, because I'm cool with doing that. If I buy 5 houses, live in each one for a year, slide each one slide. I'm cool with that. But I'm just saying for people that are saying, okay, the house I'm in, I'm cool with. I want to get some investment properties, but you're going to pay that 30% and everything else. So what advice would you have for those brothers?
So I kind of go back to what I was saying before, and I want to add something to your comment that you said as well. If you get the right lenders, you don't have to put 30% down, right? If you get the right lenders, you can put 10% down. If you get the right lenders, you could put even less. So these DSCR lenders and these hard money lenders that I'm telling you about, right? They allow you to go in with very little money out of pocket. And my favorite strategy is the BRRRR strategy. That's how I bought most of my rental properties, right? That's when you buy a property, you renovate it, you rent it out, and then you refinance it to take your money out. And I'll use one deal example as how we structured it and did it. So I bought a house in Columbus, Ohio, which I love Ohio. I'm there all the time, right? I bought it for $100,000. Okay. And these are real. This is a real deal that I did. I still own the house to this date, right? I bought it for $100,000. Because we were direct to owner. I told you I bought it from a retiring landlord. And when I'm telling you these things, there's actually things that we're doing in our business, which is what one of the reasons that people love being in the community because we're talking about what we do in our business every day, not talking about theory, right? And so we bought it for 100K from a retiring landlord. The guy had owned it for it's actually 95,000 is the exact dollar amount we bought it, but let's just say 100 for math, right? The house needed about $30,000 in renovations, right? Kitchens, baths, paint, and flooring for the most part, right? And when we did the renovations, the house appraised for $200,000 when it was done. So what we did is we bought it for 100. We put the 30,000 in renovations. We used a hard money lender, right, to fund the purchase and renovations. They gave me 95% of the purchase price. All right. So off 100K, they gave me 95K. So if you follow me now, right? And then on the $30,000 renovation, they gave me all 30,000 of that renovation. So on a deal that's 130,000, all I had to come up with was $5,000 plus closing costs, right? And they funded the rest. Now, if you don't have that $5,000, that's cool. If you got it, great, right? But if you don't have it, you can still get in the game because I could also ask the seller to seller finance that $5,000 for me while I go through the renovations and then refinance and pay them off when I'm done. Or I could have gone to a private lender and said, anybody that got some money in the sidelines, mom, brother, sister, coworker, neighbor, and said, hey, you want to make some money with your money? All right, why don't you come in on this deal with me and I'll pay you 15% of your money over the year. Ain't nobody going to turn down 15%. Everyone wants to make more money than what they're making now. But we went in, we bought it for 100, we spent 30, and we appraised for 200. Now, the reason why I'm emphasizing on this is because we went back and refinanced with the DSCR lender $150,000, right? They gave me 75% of what it appraised for, right? So $150,000 is 75% of what it appraised for. Now, here's the kicker. I only am into it for 130. So that 20K I pulled out, that's 20K tax-free profit because I didn't sell the house. All right. And here's the next part. The rent, right? The rent was 1,800. The mortgage, taxes, insurance was 1,200. All right. And so I make $600 a month. And how much do I have invested in that house long term? Zero. Right. I put the 5K down in the beginning, but I got it back when we refinanced it. And all that took 6 months to do. So that is the best strategy. That's called the BRRRR strategy. And when you refinance your money out, you just go back and you do it again. And this is how I'm telling you, you can buy 3, 4, 5 properties over the next couple of years doing this strategy right here. You find a distressed home, you renovate it, you rent it, you refinance, pull your money back, and just do it again. And just do it again. And just keep running and doing it over and over. And that same 10, 15, $20,000 that you use for that one property could be used to buy 5 properties over the next couple of years.
Wow. Black Men Sundays. There you have it. Saim Ibrahim, man. Thanks for coming on Black Men Sundays, man. You dropped some heat on here today. I'm like, okay, I could go another 2 hours, but I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna have you come back on in a later time. We can get
Sure.
into some of the more hardcore conversations. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show, brother.
My pleasure. Great questions, Kalali, right? I appreciate you coming on with those questions. And look, anytime you want, have me on. Remember, I'm gonna share the link with your community, and they can all follow me on IG, right? It's Invest with Siam. And then I'm on TikTok, iam.siam1. And I just started my own podcast as well, so they can find me on YouTube. But I'll share all those links with you so you can share with the community.
It's a black man's son.